Hey guys, welcome back. So today we'll be filling in the blank when it comes to fractions, decimals, and percentages. So let's do a quick recap. So if you are going from a fraction to a decimal, then the best thing to do is to divide your fraction to give you the decimal that you are looking for. If you are going from a decimal to a percentage, you can multiply by 100 or move your decimal 2 decimal places to the right. If you are going from a percent to a decimal, you can divide by 100 or move your decimal 2 places to the left. And then if you're going from a decimal to a fraction, then you want to find the place value of the last digit of that decimal and then turn it into a fraction. And we'll get into some examples so you can see. So let's look at our first example. So let's say I had the fraction 8/25. And I needed to find the decimal and the percentage for this. To find the decimal, I'm going to divide. I'm going to do my long division. 25 is on the outside, 8 is on the inside. 25 does not go into 8, so I'm going to go ahead and add a 0. I'm going to add my decimal here, decimal, and another 0. What about 25 goes into 80 now? 25 goes into 83 times. 25 times 3 is 75. 80 minus 75 is 5. I'm going to bring down another 0 because 25 does not go into 5. However, 25 does go into 50. 25 times 2, 50 minus 50 is going to equal 0. So as a decimal, you're going to get 0.32. Now, how would I turn 0.32 as a percentage? I'm just going to move over 2 decimal places to the right. So this is going to be 1, 2. My new spot is right there. So as a percentage, this is going to be 32%. And always remember that you can always check your answer. Well, we know fraction to decimal, we divided and we got 0.32, so we know that's correct. But let's say if I had my percentage here and I wanted to double check, if I do 32 over 100, because remember what percent means per 100. So this means 32% as a fraction is 32 over 100. I'm going to divide my top and bottom by 4 because 4 goes into 32 8 times, and then 4 goes into 125 times. Notice here that I have 8 over 25, which is the same fraction I have here. So let's look at the next example. So let's say I had the decimal 0.80 and I said my percentage was 80%. How do I find my fraction? All right, so we can do this 2 ways. So we can look at my decimal here and I can take the place value of the last digit. So this is my tenths and this is my hundredths place and turn it into a fraction. So this as a fraction is going to be 80 over 100. And if I simplify my answer, so as a fraction, my answer is going to be 4 over 5. So let's say we worked here with the 80% instead of using the decimal. If I turned 80% into a fraction, you're going to get 80 over 100. And if I simplify my 80 over 100, I am still going to get 4 over 5. So your fraction is 4 over 5. So let's say I gave you the decimal 0.04 and I needed to find the percentage and I also needed to find the fraction. So first thing we know is if I'm going from a decimal to a percent, I could just move over 2 decimal places to the right. So I can do 1, 2, and it lands me right here. So as a percentage, this is going to be 4%. So we got that figured out. And then how do I figure out my fraction is? You can either use the decimal to figure that out, or you can use the percentage to figure that out. So let's go ahead and look at the decimal. If I turn my decimal into a fraction, this is going to be 4 over 100 because this is my 10th place and this is my 100th place here. Then I'm going to go ahead and simplify. 4 goes into both 4 and the 100. 4 divided by 4 is 1, and then 100 divided by 4 is 25. So as a fraction, my answer is going to be 1 over 25. So let's say I gave you the fraction 147 over 100. We need to find the decimal, and then my percentage is going to be 147%. So how do I find the decimal? And the best thing you can do it 2 ways. You can divide 147 divided by 100. You can set up a division, or you can just move 2 places to the left because you have your percentage. Remember, if you're going from a percentage to a decimal, you move 2 decimal places to the left or divide by 100. If you're going from decimal to percent, you move 2 places to the right or multiply by 100. So in this case, I'm going from percent to decimal. I'm going to go 2 places to the left. So I'm going to do 1, 2, and it puts me right here. So as a decimal, your answer is going to be 1.47. So let's say you did the long division way as a fraction. 100 goes into 147 one time. 100 times 1 is going to be 100. 147 minus 100 is going to equal 47. 100 does not go into 47, so I'm going to add my decimal, decimal, and then 0. Bring down this 0 here. 100 goes into 470. It goes in 4 times. 100 times 4, 400. 470 minus 400 is going to equal 70. I'm going to bring down another 0. 100 goes into 700 7 times. 100 times 7 is 700. 700 minus 700 is going to equal 0. So as a decimal, you still get the same 1.47. So let's say I give you a decimal 0.35 and my percentage is 35%. How do I figure out what my fraction is? And again, you can do this 2 ways. You can turn your decimal into a fraction or your percentage into a fraction. So in this example, let's just try the percentage into a fraction. If I turn percent into a fraction, this is going to be 35 over 100. So I'm going to go ahead and simplify my answer. I can divide top and bottom by 5. So 35 divided by 5 is going to be 7. And then 100 divided by 5 is going to be 20. So as a fraction, your answer is going to be 7 over 20. So let's say if I gave you the fraction 29 over 100, and I wanted you to give me the decimal and the percentage. So just from looking at this example, my fraction is already over 100. So as a percentage, this is going to equal 29%. And then if I need to figure out what my decimal is, I can just move 2 decimal places to the left or just divide by 100, which is the fraction we have here. So if I have my 29% here as a decimal, you're going to do 1, 2. It's going to put you right here in front of that 2. So you're going to get 0.29. And remember, you can always check your answer. This is my 10th place and this is my 100th place. So as a fraction, this is going to be 29 over 100. And then notice here as a percentage, if I turn it into a fraction, this is also going to be 29 over 100. So what if I gave you 20% and you needed to find the decimal and the fraction? So since I have my percentage, to turn this into a fraction, this is going to be 20 over 100. And I'm just going to simplify my answer. The number 20 goes into both my 20 and the 100. 20 divided by 20 is going to equal 1. And then 100 divided by 20, that's going to equal 5. So as a fraction, we have here, this is going to equal 1 over 5. And then as a decimal, you can do long division, or you can just move 2 decimal places to the left. So we can do 1, 2. It puts us right here, right in front of the 2. So your answer as a decimal is going to be 0.20. So let's say I give you the fraction 3 over 50, and we needed to find the decimal and the percentage. As a fraction to decimal, I can do long division. We can do 50 on the outside, 3 is on the inside. 50 does not go into 3, so I'm going to add my 0, decimal, decimal, and 0. What about 50 goes into 30? Nope, it still doesn't go. It's too small. What about 50 goes into 300? 50 goes into 300 6 times. 50 times 6 is 300. 300 minus 300 is going to equal 0. So as a decimal, your answer is going to be 0.06. To figure out my percentage, I'm going to move 2 decimal places to the right. So we're going to do 1, 2, so put me right here. And this is just going to equal 6%. And remember, if you want to check your work, let's say we have my percentage 6 over 100. If I divide top and bottom by 2, we're going to get 3. And 100 divided by 2 is going to equal 50. And it takes us back to the fraction that we have here. What about the fraction 1 over 20? And we needed to find the decimal and the percent. So I'm going to divide 20 divided by 1. 20 does not go into 1. I'm going to add my 0, decimal, decimal, 0. What about 20 goes into 10? Nope, still doesn't go. It's too small. What about 20 goes into 100 now? 20 goes into 100 5 times. 20 times 5 is 100. 100 minus 100 is going to equal 0. So as a decimal, your answer is going to be 0.05. And then as a percentage, we're going to move 2 decimal places to the right. So this is going to be 1, 2, and it puts me right here after the 5. So this is going to equal 5%. So let's say I gave you the decimal 0.11, and I needed to find the fraction and the percentage. We can do a couple things here. If I'm going from decimal to percentage, remember you can move 2 decimal places to the right. So I can do 1, 2 right here, and your percentage here is going to be 11%. Now, how would I write this as a fraction? Well, we have 11 over 100 because this is percent per 100, and that is your fraction. Since you can't simplify this any further, your fraction is going to be 11 over 100. You can also have used your decimal to turn it into a fraction as well. This is your 10th place, and then your 100th place is here. If I turn it into a fraction, you're still going to get 11 over 100. All right, so let's say I gave you the decimal 0.60, and then I said the percentage was 60%. You can use your decimal to get the fraction, or you can use a percentage. Let's use the percentage. To turn it into a fraction is going to be 60 over 100. And if I simplify this fraction, the number 20 goes into both numbers. So 60 divided by 20 is 3. And then 100 divided by 20, this is going to equal 5. So as a fraction, your answer is going to be 3 over 5. So let's look at this example here. What is my fraction for this example? We have 200% here. This is just going to equal, if I turn my percentage into a fraction, we have 200% over 100, and 200 divided by 100, this is just going to equal 2. So as a fraction, your answer is just going to be 2 over 1, which equals 2. And remember, looking at your decimal here, 2.0 is just 2. I gave you the fraction 4 over 25, and your percentage was 16%. How would I find my decimal? The best thing to do, you can move 2 decimal places to the left, or just divide by 100. So we can do 1, 2. It puts us right here, right in front of the 1. So as a decimal, you're going to get 0.16. Remember, you can also do long division, 25 divided by 4. That's going to give you 0.16. Or you can do 16% over the 100. And if you simplify your answer, because the number 4 goes into both, so 16 divided by 4 is 4. And then 100 divided by 4 is 25. So it still takes you back to your fraction that we have here. So let's look at this example, 117 over 100, and I said my percentage was 117%, and we needed to find the decimal. Well, I can find the decimal 2 different ways. You can divide by 100 here, or you can move 2 decimal places to the left. So 1, 2 is going to be right here between the ones. So as a decimal, you're going to get 1.17. And let's say you did do the long division. Let's go ahead and do that. 100 goes into 117 one time. 100 times 1 is 100. 117 minus 100 is 17. 100 does not go into 17, so I do need to add decimal, decimal, and 0. Bring down this 0. 100 goes into 170 one time. 100 times 1, 100. 170 minus 100 is 70. Bring down my other 0 here. 100 goes into 700 7 times. 100 times 7 is 700. 700 minus 700 is going to equal 0. So notice here you do get the same answer if you were to divide. So remember, you can divide, do long division, or if you're going from a percentage to a decimal, just move 2 decimal places to the left. And then when you're going from decimal to percent, remember you move 2 decimal places to the right. So let's look at 1 over 40, and let's say my percentage was 2.5%, and then I needed to find the decimal. I have my percent here. I can just move 2 decimal places to the left. That's going to be 1, 2. It puts me right here. So as a decimal, you're going to get 0.025. And then as a percentage, it's going to be 2.5. And then as a fraction, you have 1/40. And remember, if you're not sure, you can always do long division. Let's look at one more example. So let's say we have the fraction 3/8, and I needed to find my decimal and the percentage. So we can do long division here. 8 is on the outside, 3 is on the inside. 8 does not go into 3, so I'm going to add my 0, decimal, decimal, 0. What about 8 goes into 30? 8 goes into 30 3 times. 8 times 3 is 24. 30 minus 24 is going to equal 6. I'm going to bring down my 0. 8 goes into 67 times. 8 times 7 is 56. 60 minus 56 is going to equal 4. I'm going to bring down my 0 again. 8 goes into 45 times. 8 times 5 is 40. 40 minus 40 is going to equal 0. So as a decimal, your answer is going to be 0.375. And if I needed to figure out my percentage, I'm just going to move 2 decimal places to the right. So we do 1, 2. It puts me right here between the 7 and 5. So your answer is going to be 37.5%. All right? So that is all for today, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.